when Kirk Frost made a shocking and deeply personal comment about Yandy Smith? Tensions between the two men had already been simmering, but no one anticipated it to explode so publicly, violently, and emotionally. Witnesses say that when Kirk made fun of Yandy's role as a mother, something inside Mendeecees snapped. Cameras were rolling and the entire cast was stunned. In what began as just another scene, the set of Love and Hip Hop turned into a ticking time bomb that no one saw coming. The footage, which has now leaked and gone viral, shows a side of Mendeecees that fans have never seen before. Insiders are calling it one of the most intense moments in Love and Hip Hop history. And now the entire fan base is left wondering, how did it get this far? And can this relationship ever be repaired? Mendeecees, he didn't hold back, not with his words, his emotions, or his reaction. Yandy's name wasn't just insulted, it was dragged, and Mendeecees wasn't about to let that slide. Everyone knew the stakes were high as the Love and Hip Hop crew assembled for yet another dramatic scene shoot, but nobody had prepared for the kind of explosion that was about to happen. Mendeecees Harris and Kirk Frost, two of the show's most controversial characters, had been at odds for weeks, and rumors of their growing feud had been circulating on set. But the public had never seen anything like this. The cameras were rolling, and what was supposed to be another scripted argument quickly turned into something much more intense. All began innocently enough. Mendeecees and Kirk were scheduled to film a scene in which they were supposed to discuss the family's future. But Kirk, ever the provocateur, wasn't prepared for this. Couldn't resist pushing the boundaries in what was supposed to be a lighthearted conversation. Kirk's remarks about Yandy, Mendeecees' wife, shocked everyone in attendance. I'm just saying that Kirk started trying to sound casual. Maybe if Yandy didn't constantly play the victim, instead of acting like a saint, she wouldn't have so many problems with her kids. The words hung in the air like poison, and Mendeecees' expression froze, going from confusion to anger in a matter of seconds. The crew, accustomed to the usual drama, was now on edge, sensing that something was different. Known for his calm demeanor, he was clearly shaken with anger as he tried to process what had just been said. Everyone knew how much Yandy meant to Mendeecees, and the insult was low. It wasn't just about Yandy's parenting. It was a direct attack on everything she stood for. Kirk had crossed a line, and Mendeecees wasn't about to let it go. The tension was palpable, as if the entire room was holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable reaction. When Mendeecees' voice was eerily calm at first, the anger simmering beneath Mendeecees lost it. He didn't give Kirk the satisfaction of a back-and-forth argument. Instead, he took a step forward, his eyes burning with rage. "Don't get to talk about Yandy like that," he spat. The others in the room exchanged nervous glances, knowing that things were about to get ugly. Kirk, the instigator, smirked, clearly thinking he could provoke Mendeecees further. Kirk shot back, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Motion, he slapped Kirk across the face with such force that everyone gasped in shock. The sound of the slap reverberated throughout the room, and the crew gasped in shock. It wasn't just the physical act that stunned everyone, but the raw emotion behind it. Mendy noticed that his character had never been this unrestrained on set, and the cameras captured every moment of it. For a brief moment, Kirk stood frozen, his hand hovering near his cheek where Mendeecees' slap had landed. He hadn't anticipated it to go this far. He was used to playing the villain and creating drama. But this time, the slap wasn't about a trivial dispute. Mendeecees was willing to do whatever it took to protect his family, his pride, Kea, and his love for Yandy. The camera crew, who had been filming the entire shoot, were abruptly put in a situation where they had to deal with someone who was trying to get more attention and increase her television time while displaying hatred for Rashida. Other people were also questioning the men's silence in the face of such serious accusations. Before long, things took a darker turn and more rumors began to circulate online about covert meetings, hidden messages, and even the stress grew as the days went by. Now that he was in full damage control mode, Yandy began contacting close friends and family members to try to find out more information about the situation. She couldn't understand why Mendeecees weren't being more transparent and was in desperate need of answers. Some followers claimed that Rhea had video evidence to back up her claims, but no one was sure what that evidence was. Others said that she had text messages or pictures proving that the Mendeecees confessed to their night together with her. The longer he remained silent, the more questions were raised. Was there something he was hiding, or was there still more to the story that no one knew? Rita, on the other hand, played the role of provocateur. She knew the drama she had caused and what she had done, and she was enjoying every moment of the chaos she had caused. She fueled the rumors on social media by posting, "If they want the truth, they'll get it." She kept her attention on the public, proving her command of the story with each new post. The cast of Love and Hip Hop, who were usually accustomed to drama, was now he eventually broke his silence again as the pressure on Mendeecees increased. But this time, his response was even more evasive than the last. He wrote, "The truth will always come to light." While some members chose to remain silent, others felt compelled to react to the growing chaos. However, everyone seemed to agree on one thing: was no ordinary scandal. Wasn't just another argument between the actors. It was a shocking revelation that could have destroyed relationships and families. Everyone could watch everything unfolding in real time, and it was intimate. The stakes were higher than ever because Rita had put a major snag in the relationship between Men and Yandy, which was already in danger. Everyone was wondering what was really happening, who was trying to control the situation for their own benefit, and who was speaking the truth. The consequences of Rashida's accusation were just beginning, and it was impossible to predict how this narrative would turn out. Allowed admirers to read the message however they saw fit. Was there something he was confessing? Was he trying to hide the truth? As the days passed, the controversy surrounding Rashida's shocking admission of spending the night with Mendeecees only intensified. There were a lot of contentious discussions going on social media, and each new post or comment seemed to stoke the flames. Fans were eagerly awaiting the next jigsaw piece, wondering if Mendeecees would finally come clean and if Rashida and Yandy would face off against one another. However, one thing was certain: the world was watching every step, and the drama was far from over. In addition, other members of the Love and Hip Hop cast started to participate as well. Opinions and theories, there was a lot of tension in the air, and it was clear that this issue would not go away. It was becoming a major show. Still incredulous of Rashida's claim, Yandy began acting on her own initiative. She was determined to find the truth, but the more she looked into it, the more confusing the situation became. She tried to get a direct response from him, but his responses were vague and evasive. He told her over the phone, "We'll talk when the time is right," which made Yandy feel even more alone and irritated. It seemed as though he had something to hide, and the longer he remained silent, the more she felt like he was avoiding her, which only increased their distance from one. Another asterisk, Yandy's feelings were all over the place. She was angry, confused, and hurt at the same time. How could Mendeecees allow to happen without confronting it head-on? She had always stood by him and supported him no matter what. But now it seemed like he was ignoring her when she needed him. The most, their relationship seemed to be on the verge of ending because the drama was taking up all of her thoughts, and her feelings were completely entangled with the controversy. At the same time, Mendeecees remained evasive, and the more Rita's claim was questioned, the more cryptic his behavior became. Social media post, but they thought it was appropriate. One night, he tweeted, "Sometimes the truth is harder than the lies," which sent followers into a tizzy. Was he confessing to Rashida's affair, or were his ambiguous remarks really meant to perplex everyone? Although no one was sure, his post's ambiguity only made the situation worse. As the situation unfolded, people quickly took sides because they believed Rashida's version of events. Other fans supported her and accused Mendeecees of lying or hiding the truth. citing his silence as proof of guilt, saying that if he really had nothing to hide, he would have rejected Rita's claim right away. Men's is shady. An admirer said that if he really cared about Yandy, he would have stopped this, but instead he's letting it go on. People were quick to criticize Rashida, saying that she was using controversy to gain attention. Rashida is only interested in getting her 15 minutes of fame. One commenter said that the argument between the supporters was getting more heated by the minute. Every new development seemed to just fuel the fires. A leaked video appeared just as things were starting to spiral out of control. Appeared to show Men and Rashida together at a hotel. The two were seen laughing and talking in the video, clearly comfortable with each other. Although the video was short, it was enough to spark a flurry of rumors. The video went viral immediately, with admirers scrutinizing every frame for clues that something more was going on. Was it interpreted as proof that the accusation was true, or did it just show to friends hanging together innocuously? The mystery was only by the video, and it seemed that everyone had an opinion. The video could have been shot months before Rashida made her accusation. Several admirers claimed that it didn't prove anything, while others said that Mendeecees and Rashida's connection in the video was obvious and seemed to go beyond simple friendship. Naturally, Yandy was devastated when she saw the footage. She was shocked by what she was seeing, and Roz's claim seemed to have some truth to it if the video was real. However, Yandy did not make snap decisions because she was determined to hear the entire story. She contacted Mendeecees again and asked for an explanation, but he sidestepped her questions once more and gave no conclusive answers. We'll talk about it. The drama escalated as the men remained silent, he said in a cold, detached tone. Fans began to question the authenticity of the video, with some speculating that it was all part of a larger scheme to manipulate the public, and that it had been staged. Others speculated that Mendeecees and Rashida had been secretly dating for months and was just the beginning. The suspense was increased by the idea that Mendeecees and Rashida had been hiding something from everyone. Was there an affair going on here? Or were there only two people involved in an incident that went out of control? Meanwhile, the rest of the love and hip-hop symbol was feeling the heat. The abrupt revelation of the love triangle quickly became the talk of the world after the story was picked up by news outlets. The hip-hop and love producers were desperately trying to handle the ramifications behind the scenes because they knew that although this drama might draw large audiences, it also threatened to destroy the relationships between the show's key actors. Would the controversy be the end of Mendeecees and Yandy's marriage, or would they be able to endure it? What role would Rashida play in this whole situation? There was no denying that the drama was far from over and would only get stranger. From here on out, the situation progressed, more details emerged. Rumors about Mendeecees' past, relationships with other women, and even his involvement in questionable business dealings started to circulate. It was clear that this controversy would affect everyone connected to the Love and Hip Hop franchise, not just Mendeecees and Yandy. Fans wanted to know the truth about what really happened between them. But Kirk knew deep down that he had pushed Mendeecees too far, and now there was no turning back. The emotional toll of the incident wasn't limited to Kirk and Mendeecees Yandy either. Yandy's family was now split, and the ongoing drama was starting to affect her relationship with Mendeecees. Even though he had offered her support at the time, she couldn't get rid of the feeling that the constant fighting, insults, and public spectacle were too much to handle. She asked herself, looking in the mirror, is really worth it? The truth was that nobody knew what would happen next. The cast was in disarray after the slap, and the tension seemed to increase with each day as the crew got ready to film the next episode. The world was watching, and nobody knew what would happen next. The tension between Mendeecees and Kirk had reached a boiling point, and the drama seemed to get worse every day. What had begun as a heated argument and physical altercation had now descended into a full-scale struggle for control, not only within the family, but throughout the entire love and hip-hop universe. Mindy and Kirk were refusing to back down, and the cast and crew were feeling the effects of that slap. Back on set, the producers had their work cut out for them after weeks of meticulous editing and crafting the story of each episode. The slap had become the season's main story, overshadowing all other subplots. They knew they had a chance to capture the drama and raw emotion that reality TV fans desired, but they also understood the delicate balance they had to maintain. They knew that showing the uncut footage of the altercation would be risky. It would be explosive, but it could also backfire. Would viewers appreciate the authenticity, or would they feel that the situation had been taken too far for men? He hadn't anticipated things to escalate as they did, and when Kirk insulted Yandy, he felt a wave of rage unlike anything he had ever experienced. It was no longer just about protecting his wife. It was also about standing up for his family and his own dignity. He couldn't just let Kirk walk all over him, especially when the remarks were so personal. As he spoke to Safari, who had been one of the few people on set who seemed to understand his actions, he clenched his fists and said, "I love Yandy, and I wasn't going to let him disrespect her. Not again." However, as much as Mendeecees wanted to defend his actions, he couldn't deny the fact that things were getting out of control. The slap may have been a moment of defense, but it was also a turning point for him. The public's response had been overwhelming, and the attention it brought made him wonder if he had gone too far. He had always been protective of Yandy, but now that his actions were exposing their family to even more scrutiny, he couldn't help but wonder if he had just given Kirk and Yandy, the producers, exactly what they wanted. More drama, more spectacle. Did I just feed into their game? Mendy wondered aloud, pacing the room. It's part of this circus, but now it feels like I'm just another puppet. Kirk, on the other hand, was attempting to brush off the incident, but he knew deep down that he couldn't avoid the fallout. He had underestimated Mendeecees, believing he could get away with pushing his buttons too many times. For years, Kirk had taken pride in being the one who started the drama and was now dealing with the fallout from actions. However, now that the roles had been reversed, he was finding it difficult to maintain his composure. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," Kirk said, shaking his head as he spoke with Jonathan. "I was just speaking my mind. I didn't think he'd actually do something like that." Despite Kirk's best efforts to minimize the situation, the damage had already been done, and Mendeecees had that he wouldn't allow anyone to disrespect his family, and the tension was now evident not only on set but also among the cast. Even people who had previously been close to Kirk, such as Rashida, were now doubting his intentions. "Kirk, you've crossed the line," Rashida told him in a firm voice. "You've always pushed buttons, but it's different. You didn't do more." Kirk attempted to defend himself, but the pain in Rashida's eyes was too to ignore. She had witnessed how much people loved Yandy, and now she was beginning to see Kirk's true self. One fan tweeted, "Kirk has been acting like a bully for years. He got what he deserved, but other fans were less forgiving. Violence is never the answer." Another wrote, "I get that Kirk was out of line, but Mendeecees went too far. It's just a show. They should have kept it professional." Entertainment outlets and social media were inundated with posts about the altercation. Fans couldn't stop talking about the shocking slap, debating whether Kirk had pushed him too far or whether Mendeecees was justified. It's no surprise Mendeecees snapped. Yandy was caught in the middle of the media frenzy. While she was thankful that Mendeecees had defended her, she was also aware of the negative effects of such a public display. Their family was now under scrutiny, and Yandy was trying to deal with the stress of it all. "This isn't what I wanted," Yandy told Amina in an emotional voice. "I don't want my family to be torn apart by this show. I just want us to be happy to be left alone, but now it feels like everything we've built is collapsing." Backstage, the cast was preparing for the next big scene. Everyone knew that the tension between Kirk and Mendeecees was far from over, and that the next time they had to face off, it wouldn't just be in front of the cameras, it would be in front of the world. The strain on their relationship was evident, and Mendeecees was trying to keep it together for her. But the slap had set off a chain of events that neither of them could control. The producers were already planning to exploit the situation for more drama, and Yandy knew it. Her pain, vulnerability, and her family's conflict were going to be used as entertainment. The next episode promised more fireworks, shocking twists, and raw emotions, but no one knew if the cast could survive. The fallout, the tension that had been building between Kirk and Mendeecees over the past few days, was about to reach a new boiling point. The producers had been carefully planning the next confrontation, knowing full well that it would be the moment viewers had been waiting for. The cameras were ready to capture every word, every glance, and every tense pause. And with millions of viewers, there was no way to know how this drama would end. The set was bustling with activity as everyone got ready for the next round of filming. But despite all the buildup, no one could have predicted just how explosive the situation would become. Men who were still visibly upset from the altercation with Kirk were pacing back and forth in his dressing room, unable to shake the feeling that everything he had worked for was on the line. His reputation, his family, and his future in the industry were all at risk because of the actions that had been set into motion. Though he detested the drama, he also knew that he couldn't back down. Kirk had crossed a line, and there was no going back now. "I have to defend my family," which includes confronting Kirk, Men whispered to himself as he ran a hand through his hair. "If I don't, what kind of guy am I?" His feelings were a tornado of rage, frustration, and fear. He knew that adding more drama wouldn't help, but he also knew that he couldn't let Kirk get away with what he had said. It wasn't just about protecting Yandy anymore. It was about demonstrating to everyone that he wasn't someone who could be bullied. He had to stand up for what he believed in. Meanwhile, Kirk was still in shock. Kirk told Jonathan in a low, regretful voice, "I never thought Mendeecees would actually hit me. He's always been a bit of a hothead, but I didn't think it would escalate like this." Kirk's hands were shaking as he spoke, and he was trying to keep it together, but the guilt was overwhelming deep down. From the aftermath of the slap, the days after the incident had been a blur of interviews, media attention, and angry messages from fans. He'd never been in this situation before. Normally, he was the one causing the drama and the chaos. Although he was aware that he had pushed men too far, he was unwilling to publicly acknowledge that he wasn't prepared to accept full responsibility for the mess he'd created. "You have to own this, Kirk," Jonathan said firmly. You weren't ready to take full responsibility for the mess he had created. Mendeecees, it didn't just snap out of nowhere. You've been poking at him for weeks, maybe even months. "This was a long time coming," Kirk said. His face fell as Jonathan's words hit home. He had always been adept at shifting blame and manipulating events to his advantage, but now he was beginning to realize that he couldn't avoid the truth. His actions had brought them to this point, and there was no getting around the fallout. "I just hope he's not planning something worse when we get on set today," Kirk muttered, running a hand through his hair. "This can take this any further." Everyone knew that the producers were eager to record the next major altercation, but nobody knew what would happen when Mendeecees and Kirk were in the same room. The rest of the cast had been told to keep out of the way and let the two men handle their problems themselves, but the truth was that no one could take their eyes off what was happening in front of them. The set was tense, and the crew was on edge because they knew that today could be the day that everything either calmed down or exploded again. Mendeecees and Kirk were positioned on opposite sides of the set as the crew prepared for the scene. Both men were tense, their faces tight with emotion. Mendeecees had been holding his anger inside for days, and Kirk, in spite of his earlier attempts to downplay it, was obviously nervous about facing Mendeecees again. The time had come, and there was no turning back. "Now you think I'm just going to forget what you said about Yandy?" Mendeecees asked, his voice low and dangerous as he glared at Kirk, See how Kirk would react? Kirk shifted uncomfortably, but he didn't back down. "I didn't mean to disrespect her," he said, his voice shaky but defiant. "I was just speaking my mind. You know how I am, but you're not the only one with emotions. Mendeecees, you think I'm just supposed to sit back and take it every time you play the hero? It's not like that I've been in this business too long to let anyone talk down to me, even if it's you." Kirk's words were full of bitterness, and the anger in his voice was unavoidable. Kirk's words were full of anger. "You've crossed the line? Kirk, you've always thought you could get away with whatever you wanted, but not anymore." Mendeecees shot back, his fists clenched at his sides, his voice growing louder, his anger evident. "This isn't just about Yandy anymore. It's about respect. It's about boundaries, and you don't get to violate them." The confrontation was rapidly intensifying, and the producers knew they had to record every moment of it. The cameras were rolling, and the entire set was silent except for the heated exchange that was taking place. "You want respect, Mendeecees? Maybe you should start respecting me." Kirk spat in a sharp, contemptuous voice. "I'm not scared of you. You think I'm scared of you?" For a minute, it appeared as though he could attack Mendeecees again due to the sheer emotion in his voice, but security swiftly intervened and broke them up. The producers signaled for a break as soon as they sensed. Mindy and Kirk were escorted to opposite corners of the set as the crew frantically tried to diffuse the tension. Both men were visibly shaken, and the air was heavy with unresolved anger. What had begun as a verbal altercation had developed into something much more complicated. The lines had been drawn, and it seemed like there was no turning back. The drama was just getting started. The studio was silent after the confrontation, with no one moving, cast members whispering among themselves, and producers huddled together to decide whether to continue or end the shoot. The network executives had been watching everything live. Through the control room feed, one of them, a woman with years of experience handling talent drama, leaned back and said quietly, "This is too real. We need to step in before it becomes something." Totally Mendeecees sat on a couch in the corner, breathing heavily and staring at the floor as if he was trying to contain an emotional storm. Across the set, Kirk was being handed a bottle of water, but he hardly touched it. Both men were in too deep, and even though they were physically separated, the emotional conflict between them had created a rift that could not be ignored. "We are unable to solve it." As the break went on, Yandy arrived on set. She had been alerted immediately after the blow-up and rushed over, unsure of what she'd find. When she walked in and saw Mendeecees sitting alone with his head in his hands, her heart dropped. "This is gold. The fans are going to eat this up," said another executive. "The internet is already blowing up from the leaked footage. Do we really want to stop the fire now?" What happened was that Mendy saw her pain in his eyes and kept coming at me with things he had no right to say. I tried to ignore it, but it felt like he was trying to break me. When I did, Yandy knelt next to him and said softly, "I know how much you've been holding in. I've seen it, I've felt it, but you can't let him win by dragging you down to his level. That's what he wants to prove, that you're just like him, but you're not." The conversation was captured by a nearby camera that had been left rolling, and later editors would debate whether or not to include it because of their trying to make me look like the villain again. But instead of reflecting, Kirk was on the phone with Rashida venting about everything. He snapped, didn't even hit him. I could have, but I didn't, and now everyone's acting like I'm the one out of line. Rashida didn't hold back. "Kirk, you've been starting drama with him for weeks. Ever since you got jealous that he was getting more screen time, you pushed him until he cracked, and now you're..." When Rashida was right, Kirk was shocked and silent for a moment. It made him face things, like the possibility that he had started a fight he shouldn't have, or that his need for attention had finally gone too far. The producers decided to try one more take that day, and in the final scene, Kirk and Mendeecees were to be filmed separately, answering the same set of questions in a confessional format. Was a last-ditch effort to save the episode without more chaos. Mindy was up first. sat down and the interviewer took a deep breath and looked into the lens. When someone disrespects your wife, that's not just a TIV moment. That's real life. Kirk attacked Yandy as if she were a plot point, saying that she didn't matter outside of the show, but that she was my family and my ride or die. So yes, I reacted maybe too much. Maybe not enough, but I reacted like any other real man would. Kirk then took his turn. I never intended to come for Yandy, but it got twisted, and Mendeecees man. He's got a temper, and he's always had one. Perhaps we both let the cameras push us into awkward situations. As the video was finished, everyone realized that the drama was far from over. The apology wasn't enough. The tension hadn't really been resolved, and more importantly, the world outside the show had learned about it and was quickly picking sides. Videos of the slap, the shouting, and even Yandy consoling Mendeecees went viral. Celebrities started to weigh in, with some defending Mendeecees for defending his wife, while others accused him of being too harsh. Bloggers, gossip sites, and reaction channels analyzed every moment of a post from the show's official account revealed that Kirk and Mendeecees had been temporarily suspended from filming due to ongoing conflict and potential liability issues. Their scenes would be reviewed, and the reunion special would be restructured without them. The news hit hard, and Mendy felt like he was being punished for defending his wife, while Kirk felt like he was being used as a scapegoat for drama that the producers had encouraged all along. Neither man was willing to accept the suspension quietly, and Mendeecees went live that night, speaking directly to his fans. They can try to cut me out of the show, but they won't cut me if they don't like it. Perhaps they should stop using real people as plot points. Kirk, not to be outdone, posted a video of himself saying he was the real victim. They forced me to play the villain, and now they want to act shocked when the story gets messy. Don't believe everything you see on Tail. Been doing this for a long time, and trust me, none of it's what it seems. As both men continued to speak out, fans became even more divided. Some called for Kirk to be permanently removed from the show. In the midst of all the chaos, one thing was clear. The line between reality and reality TV had officially been shattered. No matter what happened next, the damage was already done, and the drama wasn't over yet. What happened behind the scenes has left everyone speechless. What began as a simple disagreement turned into a full-blown emotional explosion that the darker truths about fame, loyalty, and the cost of protecting the ones you love. Mendeecees needed to take responsibility for using violence. The network remained silent, allowing the storm to play out online while planning their next move behind the scenes. Mendeecees' decision to stand up for Yandy may have cost him his spot on the show, but for many, it demonstrated that his love transcends all plot points. Kirk's conflict between pride and regret has only fueled the flames. However, the question that everyone is asking is, will this be the last time that Mendeecees and Kirk appear on the show? Will the producers give in to fan pressure and bring them back? Or has the damage already been too much? Will Yandy forgive the network for what they allowed to happen? Or is this the beginning of her putting Mendeecees out of the spotlight for good? We'd like to know what you think. Do you think Mendeecees did Kirk do the right thing by defending Yandy, or did he go too far? Should Kirk be held responsible for igniting the conflict? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. We're reading everything. Or was he simply caught up in the moment like everyone else? And if you want to be updated on this narrative and every twist that's still to come, make sure you hit that like button. All right. Turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel. We assure you that this is simply you don't want to miss what happens, since the uncensored drama is only getting deeper.